So, Bonelab is a game... No, scratch that. Bonelab is a physics engine with a shooter game on the side. Yeah, that's it. It is a game made by indie studio Stress Level Zero as a sequel to their other physics action game, Boneworks. Both games aim to push the boundaries of VR through an experimental physics engine and gameplay focused around touching things, similarly to what Half-Life 2 did for PC gaming. And considering the influence Half-Life 2 had on gaming, Stress Level Zero had a really tough act to follow. And they did great. Twice. Boneworks introduced a whole new kind of VR gameplay and immersion with a focus on interactivity and a full VR body. No floating hands, no cheesy controllers, a full body. And Bonelab took the path that Boneworks had created and extended it further than anyone thought possible. The physics were better, your body was better, and best of all, it officially rid itself of the Half-Life clone title. But above all, Stress Level Zero acknowledged the absolute powerhouse of untapped, chaotic and extreme potential, community-created content. And if there's anything to learn about its flat-screen predecessor, it's that modding tools plus physics engine equals free content. In fact, they were so eager to create Gmod for VR that the entire game is focused on community-created content. Guns, avatars, maps, you name it. It's all built to be tossed around and mangled by talented people in the community wasting their time and energy. Bonelab took all the things that made Boneworks unique, hammered down on them and added mod support, producing a near-flawless experience, while optimizing it enough to run on this piece of junk, meaning that the one most advanced physics engine ever made for VR could run on phone hardware. Yeah. Anyway, I'm responsible enough not to spend my life savings on some glorified Google Cardboard. Oh! So I only have the version for Quest 2, which will become important later. Let's talk about the main point of Bonelab. The physics in Bonelab is really the core of its gameplay, with Stress Level Zero even creating their own engine called Marrow. Haha, get it funny because bone. So the physics could be optimized to be able to handle this idiot. And they did a great job of it, because of all the other physics-based games I've played on the Quest, Bonelab has by far the cleanest physics out of all of them. And the inclusion of this engine makes something magical when you're firmly planted in a fully physical world with tools you can use to manipulate it. I'm talking about ultimate player freedom. For example, take this guy right here. I could do literally anything to him. I could slap him, punch him, grab and throw him. You get the point. You are in a different world with the ability to do anything with everything. And a big part of that is this thing right here, the constrainer. Watch, I could take this go-kart and put a gun on it. This gun. Put a gun on it. I could even put a gun on me. This unique dynamic of being able to do whatever you want in this highly physical world is so unimaginably good, you might even forget about the actual game. Oh, right. The game. Remember how I said Bonelab was a physics engine with a game on the side? Yeah, well, one of the key differences between Bonelab and Boneworks was that Boneworks had a lot more focus on the game aspect of it, while Bonelab doubled down on the sandbox. That's the main reason people complain about the game, and admittedly, it's one of the game's weak points. Case in point, the campaign. First off, it is incredibly short, being only around 6 to 8 hours. I know VR games typically have really short campaigns because they are just so much harder to make than flat screen games. But come on, the game is $50, man. On top of this, my ultra gamer instincts tell me that the campaign is paced really terribly. I mean, one minute you've completed the tutorial and the next you're stuck in this lab and are forced to play these stupid minigames, and just when the game picks up again, you're booted back into a series of more minigames, and when you finally unlock one of the key game mechanics, you really only have one level to play with it. I don't think that there's much of an argument against why Bonelab's main story is mid, and besides being a fun little challenge to replay once in a while, it really isn't good. Another common complaint about Bonelab is unfortunately part of the main focus of its development. Bonelab is many things, and one of those things is ambitious. Unfortunately, ambition often leads to overwhelmment, and I'd be lying if I said that Bonelab's physics were perfect. Although Stress Level 0 did a great job given the immense challenge and the sheer difficulty of some of the things they wanted to achieve, the game is no stranger to the worst of which is probably when climbing something, because your legs are now physical objects and are also sentient beings. It's not even the funny kind of jank that the old Source games or Elder Scrolls games have. It's just plain old. But personally, I can look past these two flaws because the core gameplay is just so freaking good. But I do understand how people might not enjoy this game purely because of these issues, especially if you lack the stupidity to mess around for hours at a time. In my opinion though, I believe that Stress Level 0 has done a really great job with what they had, and they have overall created a really fun experience. Just keep these two flaws in mind before you throw money at them. Oh yeah, there's also mod support. Did I say that already? Now comes by far the most exciting part of Bonelab. Mods! One of Bonelab's biggest aims was to implement community-created content, but one of the biggest risks with this game plan was the community itself, and the possibility that it might not be able to support the game with mods. Yeah, they don't have to worry about that. The modding community for Bonelab is probably one of humanity's greatest creations, on par with the International Space Station, purely because of how stupid good most of them are, such as this completely functional attachment system or the wide array of weapons brought in from other games which all function really well, or even a minigun, or even a functional machine gun, or even a freaking helicopter. Someone built an actual helicopter that operates purely by physics, and that's not even beginning to cover the number of avatars and maps that people brought in. The modding community is just pure, uncontrolled chaos. But that's exactly what Stress Level 0 wanted. See, the whole point of Bonelab's actual story is that you're brought into the void, and your sole purpose from that point onwards is to create as much stupid stuff as possible with the ultimate end goal of using it to fight some thing that is very big and scary and...
There's something hostile out there.
Stress Level 0 planned this. The entire point of the game, more than just the physics or the guns, was to build a platform for players to import their own creations into VR, and I think that's a great idea. I mean, just look at Gmod, probably one of the most iconic games ever made. It would not be anywhere near as prominent as it is without the dedication of the community, but it goes back even further to the original FPS games like Quake and Doom. Even they had crazy modding communities that pushed the limits of the games and the entire gaming industry as a whole. Just look at how many popular games today originally stemmed from mods of other games. The most powerful force ever seen in the gaming industry is the community, and Stress Level 0 has recognized that and made a massive push to bring that digital renaissance into VR, and that's what makes Bonelab special. Before I end the video, there are a couple of other teeny tiny insignificant details I'd like to address. Bonelab's guns are by far the best guns I've ever used in VR. Boneworks was already pretty infamous for having good weaponry, but Bonelab took what made Boneworks guns fun to shoot and went a step further, making the guns really detailed but also keeping it simple enough so that I'm not constantly trying to fumble with something in a very intense firefight. Bonelab's guns are also fully physical, including the recoil and everything, which is a great detail as it makes the guns so much more deep and also makes them cool as heck to handle. Anyway, moving on. We have the actual virtual body, you know, the bones. What's really impressive about Bonelab's full VR body is that the Quest only tracks your head and hand position, nothing else. So everything else you see here, your arms, legs, torso, the game guesses where they should be, and it is scary good. Most of the time it's a one-to-one match, even when touching certain parts of my body. The animations for grabbing things is also really detailed, like look at this. My fingers are moving and flexing the way they would in real life. That's an insane amount of detail. It's like I'm wearing my avatar like a suit, which I guess is exactly what Stress Level 0 is going for. So that's all I have for Bonelab. I know that right now it's just some game with mod support, but I believe that given enough time and effort, Bonelab could be monumental for the future of VR and gaming as a whole. Virtual reality has already been considered the future of video games, and what Bonelab is doing, or at least is trying to do, is to take advantage VR has over traditional gaming and push the boundaries as far as they go and a little more. One of the most important little details of Bonelab is found in the very opening of the game. There, the game engine. Bonelab is already a great game with great physics, and the fact that it's not built on a particular engine means that it could be released to the public for the community hounds to shred to pieces. And given Bonelab's approach to this kind of stuff, I think it's highly likely. And an engine with this much stuff built in will have an endless amount of possibilities. I'm talking about entire games with Bonelab's excellent physics systems with their own original stories and mechanics, the same way the Source engine sparked so much community-created content. Bonelab is more than just a game. It's an attempt to push VR and gaming beyond its limits. Or I could be wrong and the game will slowly die off. Anyway, thanks for watching.